your life is too boring for YouTube, that might be a good thing, because the people that are making real amounts of money on YouTube, they're not dancing. They're definitely not filming aesthetic vlogs. They're over here making videos on how to compost, how to garden, how to fix a broken washing machine. And while they're over here raking in at least $10,000 a month, you're still asking the question, should I start a YouTube channel? But here's the truth. Boring works, it scales, and it pays while you sleep. And it doesn't require personality, a ring light, or a mental breakdown over how many views you didn't get every other week. And when I stopped chasing trends and started focusing on super niche avenues within YouTube, my business went from 0 to 7 figures in under 2 years. I'm now able to homeschool my 4 little kids and work 1 day a week. So in this video, I'm going to be breaking down 9 of the most boring YouTube niches that are quietly making $10,000 a month or more in 2025. We're also going to talk about how to copy this exact system so that you can get results too without selling your soul to the algorithm, because no, absolutely not. You do not need to go massively viral or even viral at all to hit a consistent $10,000 a month. But before we get into it, my name is Haley, and if you're new here, I basically teach new and established YouTubers how to turn their YouTube channels into an actual business based off of courses or selling digital products or even coaching programs. So if that interests you, go ahead and hit the subscribe button down below and let's get into it. I knew that a lot of you are going to look at these more boring niches and immediately have scarce mentality and think, oh, but that person over there is better than me and it's not that boring. They turned it into this crazy empire. There's always going to be outliers, all right? And it's okay. You shouldn't be finding the outliers. You should be finding the boring people in the middle, all right? The people that are often glossed over, people that you wouldn't know are making a lot of money or a full-time income. They don't have massive amounts of views, and you probably aren't able to find them. You wouldn't know how because you're not in my position. I coach these people, I teach these people, and so I have actual data and results to share with you guys what they're making and the potential of these more boring niches. So the first example of a boring niche is gardening. Now, before you're like, okay, Haley, I watch gardening channels and they are not boring at all. Nowadays, there are people jumping off their roofs, diving into their garden, and they're growing endless amounts of, strawberries, and they're like 90% sustainable. And I just have a little suburban house and I have a little plot where I grow my herbs, my tomatoes, and my family eats them, but I'm not fully sustainable. And it's just my hobby. Like, this is not a boring niche, but you are absolutely dead wrong because of my students that are doing it and because of the proof that I'm going to share with you guys in this video. So the reason gardening is great is because it is a broad category. So when I list these niches, I use the term niches because it's what you guys are searching on YouTube. But honestly, all of the 9 things we're going to talk about, they're not niches, they are broad categories. The way to blow up in all of these broad categories, I talked about in a video that I will link up here down below, and that is called something like finding your sticky sub niche, all right? So you're not going to just randomly post in gardening about how I grew strawberries, then how you grew squash, whatever you're doing at the moment. You're just a little vlogger documenting. You have to be way more strategic than that in all of these niches or categories. Another example is Courtney. Okay, so this channel is Courtney Grows Food. She just signed on with us, I think 2 months ago, and is already going viral. Now, Courtney isn't 100% sustainable with her gardening, and that's like, the extreme. She's just a single mom that feeds her kids real food, and her whole thing is basically how I maximize food production in a smaller space, growing high-value crops organically and eating seasonally while saving time and money. And she talks about how to basically budget by growing your own 25 power crops. Courtney is not some massive YouTuber, yet she's able to make money and be the single mom that provides for her family in a more boring, sub niche, which is basically how to do this on a smaller scale. She actually just had a video go viral, which was crazy to me, but I helped her with it. Honestly, I did not have high hopes for it, but the reason why it did well is because she actually did not have 800 acres of strawberries. It was like a how to grow strawberries video, very basic, right? But she helps answer and solve real problems for real people. And so basically meeting people where they're at and being realistic with what you are and are not able to do will help increase authority, help you go viral, because not everybody wants to learn from someone that has 800 acres of strawberries, all right? They want to learn how to do it in their backyard on a budget to feed their small family. The best part about it is that the reason why all of these niches or categories rather can make a ton of money being more boring or traditional is because you're able to monetize your influence, your authority online by selling courses and or digital products, ebooks, or having a membership for gardeners, or basically doing coaching on the topics that you're talking about. And so none of these things are going to be influencer based, although these people are considered influencers. It's not like, here, let me show you my life, follow me around with a camera, show my whole family, and open up my life invasively in that way. Although I've done that and it actually makes way less money, even if I was getting way more views, because you can't sell your own products. And that's kind of obviously where Courtney's going and why she's going to out earn most YouTubers in her niche, because she's going to take home 90% of the profits from selling her own digital products, which is obviously what we're working with her on. And she doesn't need to go viral. It's amazing. All right. So that's the first one. The second one is absolutely on fire. I mean, all of them are, but this is faith-based homemaking content. So if you guys live under a rock, you won't know about the whole trad wife movement. This isn't really trad wife. Okay. This isn't like, let me dress up in my 50s dress and cook a baked chicken and you are like watching me live this weird alternative life, pretending like I don't live in 2025. It is not that, if you've ever been exposed to that. This is traditional homemaking in 2025 as a Christian woman. It's very, very layered. It's not in the broad category of cooking at home. It is faith-centered homemaking. A lot of moms come to me and they're like, I want to do YouTube. I want to bring in an additional income for my family, but I've been a stay-at-home mom for whatever, 10 years. I either homeschool my kids or I don't have a college degree. Like there's literally nothing that I specialize in. There's nothing that I'm good at. I used to feel like this as well until you realize, oh, there's a lot of things that I could become specialized in, or things that I do in my everyday life that people literally don't know how to do, that I can grow a following with. Things like cooking, cleaning, homeschooling, organization, or just like rearing children. And another huge thing, which I talked about in that sticky sub niche video, which you guys should watch after this one, is you really, like I said, you want to attach yourself to something that is underserved, something with a very low supply, ideally, and a high demand, not something in a broad category where you're talking about everything under the sun. It's got to be niche enough to where you can find small creators blowing up in these topics. And that is what I found. It's like a gold mine on YouTube of all of these religious mothers sharing basically how to run an efficient household. It's almost like, throw it back to like, if you ever took home economics, which I should have and never got offered in high school, it's that, but with a Christian spin on it. And so the reason why it does so well is because there is a huge demand issue in this content. And so it's almost guaranteed for you to go viral. And I know this because I have several students with, honestly, they start with 0 subscribers and they're already blowing up video after video after video, making a ton of money because they have gone into a niche that has a low supply and a very high demand. And so you might be thinking, well, why would this make me a lot of money? What mom would pay another mom to teach them how to mom better? I mean, isn't that kind of strange? You are dead wrong. Okay. So we have one student, Transformed Homemaker Society, and I'm not going to tell how much she makes. She shares that in our private group, but let's just say it is a full-time income selling her course on how to transform your life as a Christian mother. She's very inspirational. Her videos, you should watch them. She sounds kind of like she could be a voice actor. Her voice is like so soothing. It's amazing. I wish I had a voice like that. But basically she gives like practical tips. It's very encouraging and it speaks directly to Christian mothers and what they go through in their walk of faith with their husbands, with their children. And it's not like just sharing how to cook or how to keep an organized house. Again, it is very niche. And also don't forget, the reason why they can make so much money, like Kiri on the Transformed Homemaker Society's YouTube channel, is because they sell their own products. If she had just, myself included, relied on AdSense, it's not enough to comfortably put your head on the pillow at night and sleep soundly. I actually did that for 2 full years on my main channel, Haley Page. I was making $20,000 a month in sponsorships. I talked about that in another video, and I will never go back to that lifestyle lifestyle of being a traditional YouTuber because you just can't control the algorithm. You don't really know which videos are going to go viral, but you can control more effectively sales to your digital products because you out earn all of your competition if you sell your own products in the traditional sense. And so that is what she is doing. And she wants to retire her husband already. It's an amazing blessing for their family. And she's doing it in a more boring niche, right? Homemaking. So the third one is, remember, a broad category, but I'm going to give you specific examples of underserved, sticky sub niches like we're talking about. So this is personal, motivational self-help. You're like, that's not boring. You know, there's like Mel Robbins, Tony Robbins. They have the same last name. I just realized. There's people like Jordan Peterson. Like, I am none of those people. Who am I? But you have to realize people are so tired. I think, honestly, as a side note, that is why Trump won in this last election. I mean, don't get triggered already. But people are so tired of fake, unrealistic personalities on the internet. All right. People that aren't just keeping it real and people that aren't true to themselves. And it feels like they're forcing it. So it's not that Tony Robbins or Mel Robbins are doing that. It's just almost like they're unattainable. They have this giant career and like you'll watch them, but most people would rather watch people that are just like them, that have gone through a similar experience to you and have come out the other side. And so you obviously still have to show up as an authority, as someone that has gone through something and isn't currently going through something. That's not how you're going to sell your own products. I mean, you might get a lot of views, but you're not going to make money. But it just needs to be empathetic and raw and real. And so for instance, like this video, 8 grown men habits guys learn too late. So you can have a whole channel just for men that are new dads or just for men that are trying to find themselves. You know, you don't have to emulate these big personalities. For instance, we had a student that we worked with last year, Vikita Trivedi. So she's in, again, a sticky sub niche. She sells something called the Feminine Protocol, teaches women how to tap into their feminine energy. It's about manifestation and abundance. She absolutely blew up her channel after just focusing on Instagram for years and years and having a really hard time growing. She was on TikTok, couldn't sell anything because the audience over on those short form platforms, they're not as loyal because of the way the algorithm works. And so she went over to YouTube with this sticky, underserved sub niche, right? Which is like feminine manifestation, that kind of thing. She massively blew up. She was able to move out of the place she was living and she has this crazy lifestyle now. She sells her course like hotcakes. But again, she's not general self-help. She speaks specifically to women who are looking for self-improvement. And so the fourth one is general finance. But let me just say right now, you don't have to be a master at the stock market or have all these investments or be rich to talk on finance. The people that I know in my own personal life through courses and like just being an influencer for the last 10 years that do budgeting and finance, they teach it in the most simple of ways. They don't have a giant portfolio, yet they're making at minimum multi 6 figures per year, sometimes some of them 7 figures per year, teaching simple how to budget. So you don't have to be Dave Ramsey. You don't have to be Graham Stephan with a giant rental property portfolio. You just have to be a regular person that knows how to budget or knows how to invest a small amounts of money. For instance, this year we worked with a student called Mero DeMilo. All right. So remember I talk about sticky sub niches. So you're not going to just go for a broad category of finance. I hope you guys get that by now. You have to find the sub niches that are blowing up small creators. And Meryl did just that. So if you look at Meryl's channel, you'll be like, wow, she's a pretty big YouTuber. She's got almost 40,000 subscribers with only 117 videos. She started with us with the inception of her YouTube channel. We're so proud of her. But I think the thing I'm most proud about is that she took the risk and the leap in talking about something pretty niche, but she did it because it was underserved. She saw a big gap in the marketplace. So her marketplace specifically wasn't general finance. Like you don't look at it from that angle. It was Christians, again, with the Christian theme for some reason. My family's Christian, we homeschool. I think that's the students we attract. So she's Christian and she talks a lot about finding your purpose through God, having God lead you, you know, very wide markets, but she ended up niching down with a couple of her videos with biblical finance principles. And she sells a program on how to basically budget as a Christian, doing it God's way, and she is killing it. And so you have to really look for gaps in the marketplace like Meryl and like Courtney Grows Food and like the Transformed Homemaker Society, these sub niches that are popping off, and asking yourself, like, could I be an authority in one of these sub niches instead of trying to post and go viral in these broad categories? Because when you do that, posting in these very broad categories, people don't see you as an authority. It's hard to make money because you can't convert. You can't sell your own products. Therefore, like I did years ago, you're relying relying on the algorithm, which you can't control, to basically feed you views, which feeds a traditional way of doing YouTube as an influencer. And that is relying on views to pay your bills. And again, like I said, it's not a comfortable way to sleep at night. It's not a real business. It's almost like you traded an 8-to-5 job for another 8-to-5 job as a creator, because you can't really scale your income without getting more views, which is very toxic sometimes and very stressful. So the fifth one is emotional processing or inner peace. So this is basically older people talking. I mean, I could have said it in a better way, but it's people really over the age. And again, this is underserved. It's not about me being ageist or whatever. It is literally, I mean, happening left, right, and center. You guys, if you're on YouTube, I don't know if you're seeing this or if it's just because this is what I do for a living, but there are so many videos popping up and going viral. That is how I did this after the age of 50. I mean, for instance, even like how to do YouTube if you're 40 and up. But I honestly see a huge demand for people in their later years of life creating content on topics within all broad categories, and they're massively going viral. And so if you think that you've missed the boat, if you are an older YouTuber or wannabe YouTuber, you should get on the boat. The boat is a rocket ship going to space, because this is so underserved, because there's such a demand on YouTube for older creators. It has been primarily dominated by millennials like myself who kind of started it. Now the Gen Zs are getting into it. But what about everybody else that watches YouTube, like my 73-year-old dad? He wants to hear from older people, and there's only a couple of them wanting to create content or feeling comfortable. So here's some examples, okay? And like I said, it can be in any different niche, but again, it's people 50 and up or 40 and up, but really 50 and up making content. So this is Emmy's, what is it? Existential Zone. She does a video and it says, stop avoiding what you fear and practice existential courage. 866,000 views 9 months ago. Her channel is growing like wildfire. Another one is Life with Sandra Hart, my best life advice for you, what 83 years of living has taught me. But then there's like over 50 yoga YouTube channels or weightlifting channels. I follow one lady, Cheryl Columbi. I'm saying her name and butchering it, but I follow her because she is so amazing. Okay. I don't know how old she is, but she's older and she lifts weights. She's strong and she appeals to older women that feel like they're too frail or too feeble. And she cuts through all the noise and shares how it works for her. And again, she's growing and she has grown like wildfire. And so basically you can take any sub niche, ideally that it is sticky. So it's something that is underserved. You attach your age to it if you're older, and you appeal to a whole new demographic that is just not getting their needs met. So speaking of fitness, the sixth one is mom fitness. All right. And I know you're going to be like, well, that's not boring. There's a ton of mommy, weightlifters, mommy bodybuilders out there. Like this is pretty normal and it's not underserved in any way. But actually you'd be wrong on this. All right. Because we coach a lot of them that are making a ton of money, and they are not buff mommies or whatever you want to say. Okay. They don't have shredded six packs. They are regular moms that have just lost weight after children. And this is like one of the top niches that I help people with for some reason, because I think I attract a lot of moms. Fitness is, very common for the average person with a beating heart. And so this is where a lot of people have their, skill in. But I want you to know that not everybody has to have a certification. Actually, you never do unless you're giving advice on like suicidal stuff or something really deep, or giving like doctoral advice, but you actually don't have to have a certification in order to make money. So whether you believe that that's ethical or not, the proof is in the marketplace. And honestly, for me, it's like, can you help people? Can you get people results? Why do you need a college degree if you can help 1,000 people? You shouldn't. You should help them. And what I think is that is your moral obligation to help people if you can. And so a lot of the people that we have served, like Rebecca, okay, so she has a YouTube channel. I think she's just had her third kid. She started with us from zero. She's grown immensely on YouTube as a new YouTuber. She switched over again from Instagram because it was so hard to make reels every single day as a mom of 3. She bangs out a couple videos a month and she's able to make a significant amount of income selling her coaching program, teaching moms how to lose weight. We also have Kathleen from Little Piece of Heart on YouTube. She does something similar, but it's mindset specifically for weight loss and mothers, women in general. And she kills it in that more sticky sub niche. So it's like mindset. So there's a lot of different avenues you could go through that will blow you up really fast. And they are more traditional. They're more boring. It's like clean eating. You don't have to be keto. You don't have to be carnivore. You just have to basically share where you came from and how you got to the other side. So number 7 is prepping. And while I think it's not boring, I know that just sitting there and growing vegetables and canning your vegetables or storing a bunch of dried beans in your garage can be considered boring. It's something I'm really interested in. But if you're not, you might see this as like, okay, well, you gotta have emergency stash. I live in California. We have to have a stash for earthquakes, although they are more rare, knock on wood. But I think that generally keeping extra food can be considered boring. I know you're thinking, they're not, Haley, because these preppers live these crazy lives. They've got an underground pantry, and I love these videos. I do watch them, okay? And they've got 100 canned peaches and all of their herbs, and they're like master homesteaders. That's not who we're talking about. We're talking about regular preppers. And you don't actually have to show how many peaches you canned or how you have this crazy pantry. It can be other things, all right? So for instance, this YouTube video 2 months ago, 110,000 views from the bug out location, 15 critical items on your 2025 prepper checklist, or a homestead journey, 135,000 views 7 months ago, Dollar Tree prepper pantry haul, budget stockpile for $20. So again, the whole point here is that you don't have to twist this into something it doesn't need to be. You can make a lot of money, still be an authority and be a regular person if you just film what you're doing with what you have, as long as it obviously meets the demand on YouTube. And so you don't have to go the extreme and assume you have to be this crazy YouTuber to make it. You can make $100,000 or a couple $100,000 sharing where you're at. So the 8th one is budgeting and meal planning, or budgeting your meal plan. Okay. So this is like dieting or through food or through eating whole foods or through carnivore. You know, there's a lot of different sub niches that you can tap into. So this one from Tonia Camacha's, budget friendly, high protein. All right. So that is the sticky part, the thing that people are searching that has a low supply and a high demand, which is high protein. You know, protein, getting all your protein in is very trendy right now. It's something that I guess is underserved for whatever reason. People used to do low carb and now it's all about high protein. So high protein meal prep ideas. If you had a whole channel just on this sticky, underserved keyword, high protein meal prep, you would go viral. I know it, if you consistently did it and were an authority and weren't boring, obviously, all those other things. You could sell products on how to, you know, meal prep on a budget with high protein things to lose weight or to have high energy as a mom, as a grandma. I don't even care. But the whole point is that you're attaching yourself to something that is underserved. And she's got 236,000 views in 10 months from this keyword. The best thing about budgeting with meal planning is you're attaching yourself to something with a wide TAM. So a TAM in business is a total addressable market. So it's such a great idea. All of these categories, these more broad categories, are amazing to start in because they have this wide total addressable market, meaning a lot of people in the world are searching. If you go into something that is really, really niche that hardly anybody is searching for, like so weird, but goat herding, I should look it up and put it on screen. Is it niche? Is there a demand? I don't know, but let's pretend there's no demand for goat herding, at least in America, because everyone lives in suburbia, most likely. And so you're not going to go into goat herding because it's really hard to get views. Therefore, it's hard to get sales to your own products. Therefore, it's hard to make money. We don't want it to be hard for you to make money. That's why we love, at least in Haley's land, we love oversaturated niches. So many people say, why would I do fitness? I know I'm a bodybuilder. I literally hear this, but I'm not going to do fitness because it's oversaturated. Like you know anything. I know I'm being so rude, but you don't, because you're talking about a broad category. I don't want you as a professional YouTuber who makes 7 figures, who coaches people for years. I would never want someone to go into a broad category because yes, you're competing with all of the other giant YouTubers within that category. We're not talking about doing that. We're talking about going into fitness, which still has a wide TAM, right? Total addressable market, but doing a spin on it that is underserved. So this is going to be budgeting as a mom with a large family, or cooking for someone that has a chronic illness, or dieting for someone that can only eat meat, right? So you understand that there has to be a spin on all of these things, but it can still be boring. It can still be you documenting your life and sharing the outcome. And the last thing, which is probably the most boring niche you could ever go into, and if you know that this is actually really not boring, it's super hype on YouTube and has been for the last decade, but is still hitting it off, is cleaning organization in relation to motherhood, but it also doesn't have to. You could be a cat mom and still go into cleaning and organization, but why does it have such a potential? I hope you guys are gonna catch my drift here because I've really beaten the dead horse 100,000 times by now. It's not because you choose the category, it's because you go into the subcategory that's popping off. And so most people think, why would I ever clean my home? It is not glamorous. Why would I ever show how I organize a pantry? My pantry's old, okay? My house looks like it's from the 90s. I don't have a fancy white kitchen with marble, and I live in an ugly, room. I live alone. Like, why would I show myself cleaning or organizing? Because millions of people are living this life, you guys, and they feel alone. You are missing such a huge critical component of what it means to influence people, have authority over people, and change people's lives. It is not the content itself, it's what the content represents. These videos validate, they encourage, and then they offer simple systems that viewers can copy. It's the feeling of, okay, I live in a house that looks like this. I'm not alone, and I resonate with this person. So although there's a ton of oversaturation within cleaning, you can absolutely stand out because of your unique situation that people will see online and will, for whatever reason, resonate with. And there's so many ways that it can build income, okay? So daily routines turns into planners, systems, cleaning schedules, homeschool templates, and digital product bundles. So yeah, it turns out being boring might be the best thing that you've got going for you. Because while everyone else is chasing trends and burning out and switching niches or going to different income streams, you could be quietly building this coveted 6-figure income, being a full-time creator, helping people solve real problems from your kitchen, your garden, your garage, without selling your soul to the algorithm like I used to do. But if you guys want a step-by-step system that basically helps you navigate how to find these niches, how to turn them into actual money-making businesses, go ahead and click the link below. I have a full, it's like 2-hour training on how I do this for other people, how I've done this for myself as a homeschool mom of 4. But thank you guys so much for watching, and I'll see you in my next video. Bye guys.